efforts to expand advocacy towards all stakeholders so that the crisis per se is known and is visible, and so that those who have the abilities, the means, can respond and position themselves appropriately in view for us to put together a fulsome package to try and respond to the many needs that are out there.
You know, when you mentioned over 2 million right now who are displaced, how did you come about that number? I mean, that's on the grounds of insurgency.
Yes, that's that is what is called what is known DTM, data tracking matrix, which is actually a tool which is manned by IOM along with NEMA and other stakeholders to somewhat randomly register the displaced persons on ground. And it is thanks to this tool that we have, I would say, reliable estimates of those who are displaced. And ourselves in UNHCR, we do what we call protection assessment and vulnerability assessment, which we go on ground, working with notably National Human Rights Commission, NEMA, SEMAS, and the Red Cross. And through the protection monitoring, which is also taking place on ground, we assess the situation of those who are displaced. And we do a sort of profiling, which is a sort of level 2 registration, to identify the families, the individuals, and the needs, and profile them so that we can plan appropriately and position ourselves rightly in view of answering the needs. So through that protection displacement matrix, for instance, we believe that close to 20,000 households, this is worth some more than 150,000 individuals, are in need, are vulnerable one way or the other.
Does your report say that the figure is steadily increasing? Because, I mean, we know that recently the military has reclaimed some territories from the Boko Haram sect. Is that victory significant?
Indeed. Well, unfortunately, the reclaiming of territories by the military does not necessarily translate into an improvement of the situation on humanitarian ground. It is actually the other way around, because as you may know, you may recall, some of these territories have been out of reach for the past 2-3 years, ever since the insurgency really assumed momentum, meaning that some of the territories have been under the control, the actual control of the insurgents, and liberating these territories, in fact, is uncovering the dire humanitarian situation that has been obtaining in these fields, whereby people have been out of the very basic amenities for the past months, years, and they lack virtually everything, you name it: food, basic households, non-food items, core relief items, and dignity kits. It's all out there. So these people have been somewhat incommunicado, and no reasonable or virtual humanitarian assistance could reach them for so long. And so they are actually in dire need of everything, and that is where malnutrition, food insecurity comes in, where we have some sizable level of acute malnutrition prevailing, especially amongst the children, also some elderly. And so, yes, unfortunately, the reclaiming of territories by the military, as commendable as it is not translating immediately into an improvement in the humanitarian situation.
You know, currently the federal government is returning displaced persons back to their homes and rebuilding communities. And you say, on the other hand, that the environment is not yet conducive. Can you clarify that?
I may not say it, if you wish. It's not a sort of blanket. It's not a one-size-fits-it-all, definitely. There surely are a few areas where some relative level of stability has returned, especially in headquarters of LGAs or in the main towns of the respective states. Especially, we're speaking specifically of Borno State. But out there in villages, when our protection teams go on ground, what they see, what they witness is definitely a situation which has not significantly stabilized to allow a return in safety, in dignity, and really in with a durable perspective. So in that regard, we say those who originate from places that have now reconnected with some normalcy and specifically safety, security, may be assisted to go back, and these returns must remain volunteer, because return to one's place, to one place of origin, so the returns have to be volunteer and safe and in dignity, and also face some chances for sustaining. And in that regard, we commend the government plans for reconstructions and recovery. But those plans really have to be implemented swiftly, so that the conditions that are not yet conducive, indeed, in some parts of the country for sustainable return may be built up and put in a situation whereby those who would be returning would find a well-receiving environment whereby they can rebuild a normal life and stabilize in their places of origin.
All right, hold on with your thoughts. We'll come back for more on the crisis. We're still with the UNHCR's representative, Mrs. Angel DikonGue-Atanganam. Please join us for more on this after the break.